As my peer before me said, there are many traits in the movie The Help that stuck out to her, but also stuck out to me. There are two in particular that stuck out to me. Storytelling and speaking up for others were both major parts of the movie, and I saw them in all of the characters, in most of the characters. First off, storytelling played a major role in the movie. In the movie, there are two central characters, Aibileen and Minnie, who are two African American women who work as maids in the white southern houses. Their roles are portrayed very accurately in that they maintain the house, they are paid next to nothing, and they basically raise the white children as well as their own. But they also keep their minds quiet and keep their thoughts to themselves in fear of their jobs, their lives, and the safety of their families. Now, as I said before, this plays a major role in the movie The Help. Storytelling, an example of this of storytelling is when Skeeter, a young white lady, asks Aibileen if she can interview her about her life story and what her family has gone through. Now, this was illegal back then because black and white people were not supposed to talk together. But Aibileen is hesitant at first, but eventually agrees to tell her story. Throughout the rest of the movie, more and more maids come, and after a little while, there are more than 20 or so maids telling their life stories and recording them for Skeeter. And in the end, Skeeter finally publishes these stories into a book. This was a great example of how storytelling is portrayed in the movie. The second one is speaking up for others. I found this to be extremely important in this movie. Now, Skeeter was the obvious person speaking up for others. She grew up on the other side, quote unquote, of society, and was raised in a well-to-do family. But she was mostly raised, as many other white children, by her maid Constantine. Now, for some reason, this affected her in a different way than others. She grew close to her maid, and she wanted to be more involved and know more about these lives that they lived. Now, an example of this would be Skeeter would be speaking up for others by asking Aibileen to interview her and ask her questions. Because of this, the reason she wanted to do this, as I said before, was because of her maid Constantine. Now, her first steps for speaking up for others was asking Aibileen to interview her. As I said before, this was a tremendous risk for her. She could go to jail or even worse. But eventually, Aibileen had agreed, and she took the risk to interview her. As the story progresses, more and more maids gradually join in and tell their life stories to Skeeter. Eventually, she sends the book off. She plans to send the book off and send all these stories to the publisher in New York. There is one thing holding them back, the safety of all of them, because they could be put in jail or killed because of these stories. The one thing that is keeping them is the story that Minnie told about her giving Hilly her pie, which had her waist in it. This one story saved them all. And so Skeeter agreed to send this off to the publisher. The publisher then published the book and turned it into the book, The Help. This book was read by many of the people in their community, and it almost looked like their community, Jacksonville. But the one thing that kept them safe was Hilly. Her excessive ego convinced everyone else that this story was not about Jacksonville, because she would go at any length to keep her status. Now, in the movie The Help, we saw that first, storytelling was an obvious thing, and also speaking up for others. Because in today's society, we have trouble speaking up for others and speaking up for what is wrong. But in the movie, it was an obvious thing, and we look to do it every day.